All right, so everyone, today we're going to be reviewing Smurf from the San Francisco Shock, specifically his Winston gameplay, answering the question of, is Smurf the best Winston in the world? He's certainly a contender, and while I don't know if we'll necessarily answer that question today, I think we will learn a lot about Winston. We will be able to see what makes Smurf so good at Winston. Like, what are the things that he does that, well, you can either see, is it just his incredible skill, his mechanics? Does he have the intelligence, the team coordination? What is really getting it done? What is making this huge difference to his team? What makes Shock so good at dive? Of course, they're good at double shield as well, but I think Smurf is really the key to their success on dive, or is a huge part of it for sure. So today we're going to be reviewing Smurf, see what we can learn about his Winston gameplay. And as always, compositions matter most. So first off, let's look at the comps. Don't think Rascal will play Hanzo here. Maybe he will. Let's see. I would imagine it's going to be a mirror match here. Rascal just with the Sonic clearing the flank. So when we look at this mirror match, what are the important details here from the perspective of Smurf on the Winston, right? So because it is a mirror match, the game is immediately going to become a lot more straightforward, actually. It's a lot easier to understand what you should be doing at any given time. And the essential nature of Winston in this comp is you want to do a couple key things as far as your team comp goes. The first thing is that because you have a Zarya, you want to be considering your Zarya's bubble cooldown as well as your own shield bubble cooldown, because generally you don't want to do those same things at the same time. And the same thing could be true if you have a nano boost, or if you're getting a ton of heals, your Ana's in great position to heal you, or if you're comboing off other heroes, you need to block sleep, need to block bash. So the key to this hero right now in terms of this comp is going to be finding that coordinated dive between all of your allies. So it's going to be relying on probably Striker to communicate a lot on Sombra, find the setup with his invis, probably Rascal to get extra damage on his initiation, Choi to be bubbling Smurf most likely, and then Twilight and Violet mostly looking to just stay alive and heal everyone up. But Twilight, of course, he can make plays with the sleep, he can make plays with especially the Bionade, and Smurf should be ready to follow those things up. So that's just how my initial read of these comps, like the first things that come to mind in terms of what I'm thinking about looking at this replay. But let's see what Smurf actually thinks, what he actually does in this Winston, because he's definitely a lot better than I am here. So nothing too fancy on the rollout. I like this from Smurf, small thing, but when a Sombra uncloaks at this point in the game, when your team is not fighting really and you're just rolling out, that Smurf just instantly jumps on her as a response, because that's the fastest way to force a TP. One thing he does is he doesn't commit the bubble. I think he would commit bubble if Sombra decided to stay in and like actually fight him, so he doesn't let the Sombra ult charge. But because Hisu just TPs out so fast, very conservative from Hisu, just want to make sure he doesn't die, that Smurf doesn't have to use any extra cooldowns. But it is good from Smurf because he's the best hero to make sure that Sombra gets a minimal farm phase. Actually kind of nice from Smurf here. One thing to look at in this little trade engagement is, first thing I want to talk about is the way he approaches from the front here. He is approaching and he's trying to get all the way up in this left side, as close to the left wall as he's hugging this left wall while he's walking, because that means that for Hisu to get this poke, Hisu needs to be as far out on the ledge as possible. And even though Hisu does get the hack on Smurf, Smurf doesn't overreact. He doesn't use any cooldowns. I mean, I think he could jump here if he was faster. He could just turn and jump back to his team. But what matters is he turns his back and he runs away. So at least Hisu, he's not getting any headshots, right? He's just farming body shots. So it's not getting as much hack farm as it could be otherwise. But you can see Smurf, he doesn't give up. I think this is a key part of the Shock strat. They really want Smurf to be jumping from main, and they most likely want to be meeting the rest of their team as they come high ground. So for Smurf, he's not going to give up one hack. Well, that just means hacks on cooldown now for Hisu. So Smurf's going to repush after he gets healed by Twilight on the Ana. And the moment he's not watched anymore, he's just going to go for a play from main. Here's this jump initially. I like that he comes over the high ground on this jump. Why is it making that noise? I like that he comes over the high ground in this jump. So because he's jumping this high, not only does it sort of put some initial pressure on Alarm, who I believe just jumped off. Maybe Alarm was going to do that regardless. But the bigger thing is that when Smurf drops this bubble up in the air, this bubble shield, it's actually blocking heals and blocking any damage that would be going to his team, who is here on the high ground. And let me see what's going on with Choi right now. Okay, Choi does not have ally bubble, which is interesting here, but Smurf's just fully relying on his team to heal him at this point. But because he did that high jump, the bubble's high up in the air, so basically the only viable target for the enemy team is in fact Smurf right now. Like, these players have to fight Smurf, but will they actually be able to? Well, let's find out. This one's more on Smurf's team, but oh, look at that. As soon as he lands, like the instant he lands, he turns away from these targets. And now look at the situation. This is the bubble. This is, I don't have to pause a lot because Winston's a very fast-paced hero. But this is why this bubble is so important, the positioning of the bubble. Because the fact that Smurf drops this bubble in this spot means that Ivy, and to a lesser extent Sato, see Sato is actually being able to peek his Ana here. But Ivy, there's no way Ana can heal him. Not possible. Like, look at Alarm. He could not heal Ivy. So Smurf uses the bubble to split off an enemy, and most likely this is going to force Ivy to use the dash just to get back to his team. Let's watch this at 0.5. Okay, so Ivy uses the dash back to his team, but in that time, I believe Striker had to find a hack here. Let's see. No, he didn't find a hack. How did they kill Smurf, or how did they kill Sato? Let's go back just a little bit and see the difference here. I think it's probably the bubble from... Yeah, okay. So Striker did actually hack Sato. It was a sleep from Twilight into the hack. So Sato gets heavily pressured here. See, Sato's hacked. Sato's getting slept hacked, comboed. Everyone's shooting him. Sato gets a bubble off, but Smurf just, like, his job here is just to zone the Ana heals. The most important thing is that he does here is zoning the Ana's heals and making sure that the backline of Philly Fusion, who's playing in main, cannot get resources to the crucial heroes who are trying to hold this low ground. So now Smurf's in the reset stage. He just uses bubble, which is the most important cooldown on Winston. So he can't really do anything here. So he's not going to peek. He's just holding, again, he's hugging this left wall, being annoying to peek. Now he's going to jump, but once again, that's the same thing we saw earlier on in the round where he's just going to jump from one safe location. Like, he's here, he's in a safe location hugging the wall. Now he jumps to another safe location. He's in here. Again, nobody can see him. But what he does is he forces that isolated 1v1, so Hisu knows he can't fight that. Hisu backs out. And at this point, this has got to be first cap, right, for the shock. I mean, it's possible Philly recontest this, but once again, Smurf is playing really efficiently with his health resources. He's hugging this wall, making it as hard as possible for the Fusion to successfully peek him. And he's not even going to go unless they stop the cap. He won't go, I don't think. Yeah, so I think Ivy tried to touch here. Now he goes. And this is great from Smurf as well. Look at how quickly, when he goes in for this type of jump, this is like what I would call like a big cleave jump, where you're jumping into an outsized number of enemies, and your goal is just to get a big cleave, hitting as many targets as possible for like 1 to 2 seconds. Because the moment Smurf's bubble breaks, he'll just die doing this. He'll just die. So he jumps in, bubble on the Ana, hits the melee cancel on the landing animation, and then he's just gone, you know? He's instantly backing. Like, from the moment he hits the ground, he's backing. Here, I actually think maybe it's a bit of a mistake from Sato. He tried to zap a little bit long, or sorry, from Smurf. He tries to zap a really long time here. But I think he should have turned his back, maybe at this point. But it's actually not really. It's mostly just Fury who kills him. I think if anything was a significant error here from Smurf, it's actually the combo with Choi. Because I think what goes wrong in this jump is that Choi bubbles as the jump goes. Also, I think it would have been good for Smurf to get healed here because Smurf is just below his armor threshold. So if he had armor would obviously be good here. But I like this jump because look how much ult charge he gets. He's 25 at this. And by the time he dies, he's going to be like 50. So we basically got like 25 ult charge out of this. But what went wrong is that they had the Winston's bubble and Zarya's bubble were used at the same time. And generally, I don't think that's what you want. Generally, you want to use one, then the other. So that you're protected by the Zarya bubble, then you drop your own bubble, and you're protected by that. So you have layered protection instead of stacked protection. And in this case, they use both at the same time. So it's a slight miscommunication. I think generally you'd want a Zarya bubble as you land and then Winston bubble, or vice versa. I don't think it matters so much what order you do. But yeah, so I think that was just a very slight miscommunication from Shock, but it actually ends up costing Smurf his life. And you see this is very close. Because now he's starting to get Ana healed. And if he had a Zarya bubble here, he would for sure be fine. This is very close. You can see his cooldown's like half a second on his next leap to get back to safety. Turn down sound effect volume. It just sounds weird because it's a slow speed. You'll be fine. All right, let's go back to 1x. See what happens. Smurf comes out of spawn next. All right. Let's see how it goes this time with the jump in. He most likely, I would imagine Smurf wants to just do another jump initiate. He might just walk in and jump out though, because the enemy's playing on a close corner. He was hoping to find Sato here, but Sato wisely hid. So look, he's just gonna push cart, peeking this corner over and over again, waiting until he finds a suitable initiation. But in this case, it actually comes with an EMP, very quick EMP out of Hisu. So Smurf just backs. There's not much he can do here. Nano onto Choi, but Smurf's still hacked. Okay, now Smurf's not hacked. Very aggressive. This is some YOLO right here. But look at this beautiful bubble isolating Fury off to the side. Wow, this is a really great move. Very, very aggressive. Like, he's 300 HP when he does this. He just does not care because look at where he lands relative to Fury. And look at this bubble now. So look at this. Fury's in an aggressive position as well, trying to capitalize on the EMP. But because of this bubble, there's no way for Fury to get support. So Smurf is like putting his own bubble and his own life, realistically, because he's low HP, on the line here, giving everything to isolate Fury so that his team can finish off this kill. And I'm imagining the focus from Shock is going to be very aggressive here in terms of where Fury's taking damage. Like, watch these health bars. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention here before. I'm pretty sure Fury's the only one taking damage after this. Look, Rascal dashes in. Choi's on the kill now, too. Choi's here. Shoots a right click. I'm actually surprised Choi didn't go also for this kill. But whatever. He was also forcing Hisu to back out, who was the only, by the way, the only other player isolated by the Zarya or by the Winston bubble. So it was Smurf's bubble that dictates the fight. The bubble isolates Zarya and Sombra. The focus comes in heavily onto Zarya, and a little bit of focus to make sure Sombra has to TP out. So just classic great Winston play. He's isolating a target for his team to get the kill. And that opening kill is like the massive kill, right? Killing Zarya is huge. And this is just confidence play because he has ult. I don't think he's even going to ult here. I think he would let himself die if worse comes to worse here. But Choi has the bubble to help him, so he's fine. At this point, he's cleaning up here. Not going to use any serious cooldowns, just jumping in bubble. Or not, I mean the ult. Obviously, you're going to use cooldowns, but not ult. So that was a beautiful isolation play. The same thing we saw first fight, by the way, where the isolation play, that time it was on the Genji and Winston who got isolated. This time it was Zarya who got isolated. And what was so key is that he's blocking the LOS from the enemy Ana and Brig to their allied Zarya. Or the enemy target doesn't really matter. It's whoever is vulnerable to getting blocked in that way. Here, Smurf values the high ground really highly, so he doesn't go in on the Genji. And that's why. Let's look back a little bit here. I think a lot of players, guys, a lot of players in this situation, in this exact situation, would go run at the Genji. A lot of less disciplined players than Smurf, though. Because Smurf just says, like, all right, whatever. You're going to poke me, whatever. But he knows that what matters is Striker's EMP. And as long as he gets this play, which, once again, bubble dropped on Fury. Can't heal Fury now. I mean, in this case, Fury got instant bursted. But it's always a Smurf's bubble that isolates a target that creates an environment where Ana can no longer heal that target. And it's very often the Zarya. And it makes sense, especially with EMP, because when you EMP a Zarya, that's like 200 damage to her, right? So that's like, she's obviously the target when you EMP. But what makes the EMP follow-up so successful is that Ana cannot heal Zarya, which is how, the only way, realistically, that Zarya could survive here. So the isolation from Smurf is perfect, gets that kill. And honestly, I don't even think Smurf's going to ult here. I mean, he might, but I don't really think it's necessary. They have second point locked in. Ivy gets a kill on the enemy Ana, but it's not the impact kill here. And look at Smurf. He's even thinking at this moment. I love this little turnaround here. This actually is so illustrative of how smart Smurf is on Winston. This moment where he actually considers whether Brig might be repushing and Ana might be repushing is actually so critical. Because does Smurf have jump right now? I think he does. He doesn't have jump yet. So because he doesn't quite have his next jump, instead of looking at these players, which by the way, it doesn't matter if you look at them, you're out of range, you can't do anything. He's making sure that this Ana and Brig aren't coming in. In this case, Rascal is going YOLO, diving the back line. But that's just making sure that these players cannot come back into the fight. So now you have Ivy and Hisu, and they're just all out alone. And there's no way these two heroes are beating these two heroes. You know what I mean? It's just not happening. Like, maybe Ivy could pop Blade, but I still don't think it would be enough because Violet has Rally. And it's just a freaking... How much energy does Choi have? Not much energy, but it just doesn't matter. He's just a Zarya. It's just a better hero than Genji and Sombra. In a small numbers engagement, these heroes are just very dominant. But I love that Smurf takes the time to consider, is the Ana re-peaking? Because if the Ana is re-peaking, if she is coming around this corner trying to heal Sombra and Genji, then Sombra and Genji have a chance in this fight. But because she's not, I would imagine Smurf's going to go back and help finish off the cart. If Ana and Brig were here, Smurf, I think, would go right back in on them again. Just his priority is zoning Ana heals. And in this case, because the Ana heals have been zoned by Rascal, who, by the way, zoning blade from Rascal, but an actual zoning blade. Like, it made Funny Astro use the entire rally to protect Alarm, and you cannot just have two supports out of the fight. Like, a Dragon Blade is worth nothing compared to two supports being out of the fight. It's actually very high impact blade from Rascal. Like, totally correct play to die there, forcing the supports to retreat. Because there's no way the enemy will win without supports. And winning without Genji is not a big deal. Actual zoning blade, but like genuine, the correct play zoning blade. Because the cleanup is easy for Choi Ho-bin and Violet. And now we're in an extremely bad situation, by the way, for the Philadelphia Fusion. Because those fights went so well that Smurf has been holding on to Primal now for 2 fights. Because they're just winning with his isolation bubble, perfect bubbles that isolate the most vulnerable target, but also an important target. And it's actually been Fury both times in this case. So Fury doesn't have grab yet because he's getting focused really hard. So it's just, the situation is really bad for Philly. Mostly because they don't have support ults. Okay, he's going to set up in the flank here. Finds a Sombra. He doesn't want to fight her here, especially on the pills. He's going to chill, let his own Sombra take the fight, which is good. Interesting from... See, look at this in comparison, by the way. I just want to compare what Sato's just done with his bubble. What Sato just did is a much less effective play. I think the point of this play from Sato is to pop Primal soon and like try and push these heroes back to his team. I think that's Sato's idea with this jump. But this jump doesn't successfully isolate a target for focusing by the team. And the team is kind of not fully ready for this jump for the side of the Fusion. This jump is only going to be good if Sato primals and like carries a Zarya back to his team for a free kill. In that case, it could be good. Let's see how this breaks down. Smurf doesn't care about this though. And the reason he doesn't care is like Winston can't do anything to another Winston. Like if Winston goes and zaps these guys, or the Winston, zero value play, like zero value. Nope. Like there's no Smurf doesn't even think about jumping on this Winston because it's just there's no value to that. Sato, as I thought, is gonna primal, but look at that. He primals and he can't get anything out of it. It's actually a no value primal from Sato. I mean, Sato can go back in again because he's got a lot of time on the primal, but the problem is that once you've used the surprise factor of the primal, it's gonna be a lot harder to catch something like a Zarya and bring it back to your nest of teammates to kill. So Smurf has like not really done anything in this fight, but if anything that he could have done would have been a mistake. Now he's gonna peek the flank and just go on the back line. And this is actually a similar jump here where the only point of this jump is to get in position for Primal and I guess force Alarm to distract. He's making sure Alarm can't just sit here and heal people like he wants to. But the other thing, though, is that the DPS are distracted, so there's no one to break Smurf's bubble. So this bubble is probably going to last the full duration. So Smurf's not going to primal early. He's going to hit as much as he can. Jump again, and maybe primal now. Yeah, here it is. focusing supports. Oh my god. That's bad. That's how these guys got rolled, man. Holy crap. That misgrab was actually game losing. Unfortunate. That's a feels bad grab from Fury. And then Fury gets solo grabbed, who... Yeah. Ooh, that's a feels bad, man. I like the grab from Fury because if Fury did catch Sato, I think he would die. Because no nano. So I think Sato would have died grabbed in this spot right here. Or sorry, Smurf would have died. But because I mean, a missed grab is like, you can't allow that to happen, really. I mean, it's kind of a loss right there. Because Shock already had ult advantage. And now Hisu has EMP, but it just doesn't matter. I'm guessing Alarm has no sleep is why he makes this play on Smurf. I'm guessing Alarm has no sleep. Let's see, is that accurate? Wait, did Alarm have sleep here? Hold on. Okay, no. So sleep was on cooldown, actually. So that's why Smurf goes for this play. Like, that had to be communicated by a teammate. Because this is like a very free sleep for Alarm if he has it off cooldown. I think it like just comes back off cooldown right now. But this is like the sort of play on Winston where it's like, your team, with that grab and killing people, there's no longer a point to using Winston to clear cart. It's not really valuable. And consistently, the theme we've been seeing overall from Smurf, and from, I mean, realistically, it's like a common Winston play, is they want to break the LOS from the enemy Ana so the enemy Ana doesn't heal. Because if you think about how much damage Winston deals, it's actually not much damage. Unless you zap like 5 people at once, it's not that much damage. But if Smurf blocks the LOS from Ana, like think about how much healing Ana puts out when she's sitting there free healing. Like if you're throwing a nade and like spamming heals on your Zarya, she's like unkillable, like basically unkillable. Like you could tank like 4 heroes worth of damage from Ana, nade, spam healing you and shit. But Smurf breaking the LOS of the Ana and making it so the Ana cannot heal is like more damage in terms of like how much health is available to the enemy team. You've reduced that number by infinitely more than you could ever do with like a big cleave that's zapping a bunch of targets. Like breaking the Ana's ability to heal is more damage than you'll ever do. So that's why we see Smurf constantly going for these plays, constantly trying to suppress the enemy Ana. And in this case, when sleep is down, you can go really aggressive on the enemy Ana and try and like zap her to death. But he gets low, so he retreats. But yeah, I mean, this is a freaking snowball and a half. They just got rolled. All right, that was a beast of a round. So what we think back in those fights? What does Smurf do? First fight, he jumps high and drops a bubble that isolates the enemy Ana. Not isolates the enemy Ana. I shouldn't say that. It blocks the enemy Ana's LOS. It isolates Genji and Winston, so that the Winston actually is a kill. The Genji has to use his dash purely passively. Like the Genji has to dash to just go back to his teammates, which is kind of the worst case scenario for Genji, because you're not going to get a dash reset off that, and you're not going to be able to be aggressive for 8 seconds. And 8 seconds is enough to lose the fight. So the first fight is like he's isolating, he's making sure to block the enemy Ana LOS, isolates Genji and Winston. Second fight, what does he do? He jumps on the Zarya, he puts bubble down, and he's behind Zarya. So again, Ana LOS to Zarya is blocked. The focus call comes in, Rascal dashes in, and Fury dies from full HP in like 3 seconds. The third fight, exactly the same thing, except this time he's following up on an EMP. But again, he drops the bubble on Zarya, so Zarya can't get healed, so that his team gets a quick Zarya kill. Like, the focus that this team is putting onto Fury is brutal right now. Like, Fury's having an extremely hard game. And sure, Fury missed his grab, which is like an error from Fury, but that's how it goes sometimes. And the reason Fury only had grab that late into the round is because he's getting focused so hard. Wow, this is ballsy from Shock. They're actually psychos for going for this play. Are they really going to spawn camp? This is some savage shit. This is actually some psycho shit. So this is like full hide mode. I'm guessing Striker is watching them. Yeah, so Striker is going to make the call here, and so is Violet. Violet's third personing to see where them come. This play is YOLO, because the cool thing about this play is that Choi being here, it doesn't arouse any suspicion, right? Choi being here is like, oh, pretty normal. Zarya's going to spam, and she's going to back off, right, to the high ground. Yeah, so like you see this Zarya spamming, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Nothing special here. Nothing's interesting. It's only like, this is actually a big brain play, because if this goes successfully, they're going to have a huge ultimate lead. Let's see how this fight goes. Smurf, though, remember, he's not peeking here because he's not Sombra, he's not Invis, he doesn't have a third person ability, so he's just hiding. Like, he's fully reliant on his team to tell him what to do here. So actually, this goes pretty well for Philly because Hisu scouts the fact that they're forward. But Smurf is just going to use his bubble as like a Rhine shield here. It's basically just a low value bubble to trade in the room. And that's actually great from Hisu that Hisu scouted this play. So Shock's just going to decommit from the play. Like, I think they want to go for an all-in dive on spawn here. I think that's like their game plan, actually, doing that. But Hisu scouts it. They try to kill Hisu. It doesn't work. So they just back off. But I think that could have been a lot worse for Philly Fusion. That could have been really bad for Philly. I'm also going to watch this whole thing at half speed because the Winston's like, the really important part of playing Winston is like the first 2 seconds of the fight. When you decide where to jump and when to bubble. I like this from Smurf. He's playing a nice little, once again, very defensive angle. So no one's even going to see that he's here until they're, like, when do you see him? You see him when you're like there, right? This is a very exposed position to be that far out. So he cannot take poke before the fight. The only person who will see him is a potential Sombra. He even breaks Hisu's invis because he was hiding. Hisu didn't expect him to be there. This is just a big cleave. So it's so interesting right now because, right? Think about what he did on offense. Completely different from this. On offense, he's jumping in. He's trying to isolate a target. He's going for an aggressive kill. He's trying to get get a player advantage early in the fight. That's his game plan. In this, 2 times now, we've seen him drop a completely defensive bubble, walking around the corner. So if things go wrong, he can turn and jump out. He doesn't use his jump to commit. He walks in and he doesn't have to jump out. But if the enemy goes on him, he will jump out. Let's see. And once again, back to the defensive angle. I'm actually a little surprised that he goes for this high ground rotation here. I actually thought this spot would be good for a second play. But maybe he's worried that it's too predictable and that he'll get like hacked or bashed or something. But it's the same principle that's being applied from the high ground, right? Because if the enemy goes in here, he'll just walk in. He'll walk in and he'll jump out. And this is a very different style than we saw on offense. Oh, what's up, Smurf? Real Smurf in the chat? I'm talking about how good you are, Smurf. Thanks for the gifted sub, Angie. So he's just spy checking. There's not so much to be done here on Winston, except, oh, this is a good moment. Boom. Look at this, look at this. Look at this is a perfect example. Perfect example of what I talked about with the bubbles. With the bubbles. We watched this in slow-mo. We go back a little. We're gonna watch it from this POV though. Look at the bubbles. Look at the bubbles. So look. As he lands, Zarya bubble. Right? Zap, 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 zap. Look. He's even gonna take some damage. Zarya bubble. He's taking damage. Oh, look at the timing. Look at the timing. And then only when the Zarya bubble is dead, this is the perfect timing, right? Because you were protected by one bubble, now you're protected by another bubble. So your time that you can stay in and continue fighting is maximized. And that's what Winston's all about, maximizing your time that you stay in and fight. It's a nice sleep from Alarm. This is good from Alarm, that he steps into the Winston bubble to use the sleep so that he can actually get the sleep. That was a nice play from Alarm. But I think Smurfs did play this like ideally in terms of the bubble timing. Because even though he's taking it, like he might die here for this, especially with that sleep, and Fury's inside on him, he's doing exactly the thing he needs to do, which is he's blocking all the healing from Ana, making sure Ana can't throw any nades or whatever. He is going to die for this, but nonetheless, the bubble play was good. It was actually just really smart from Alarm to wait. He waits out the Zarya bubble on Alarm. He waits out his Winston bubble, and then he steps through the Winston bubble and sleeps the Winston. And so that's actually really nice from Alarm. I think Smurf would have lived if Alarm didn't make that play, or if Alarm panic slept early and it got blocked by the bubble, or it got blocked by the Winston bubble. It's good play still from Smurf. And still, that's a massive nade from Twilight. So this fight actually has some potential here for the Shock. Oh, that kill from Rascal is so important. Rascal kills the Brig, and Hisu went low ground, but I'm not convinced that they're going to even win the high ground fight here. With Choi and Violet, they're still fighting strong here on high ground. I'm going to go 1x until Smurf gets back, because this is a Smurf review. Okay, Fury just got nanoed. It just destroyed Rascal. So this should be a 0.8 cap. Rascal, I think, was trying to finish off Sado, who was quite low. So it's understandable, I think, for Rascal to be trying to get an aggressive kill there. I think Smurf's thinking about the recontest here. They're going to go for it because they're almost at a bunch of ults. Oh, wow. This is really good from Philly Fusion. This is really big brained. Because normally, guys, like 9 times out of 10, when you're holding this point and you're trying to finish the cap, your focus is on the front, right? Your focus is right here. But I think Philly just had a call maybe from Hisu or something. So the idea from Shock here was to bring a big flank in from the supports, try and get like a big backline nade and push in hard with Brig, and then meet the Winston on point. And I actually love that idea. The theory behind this from Shock, I think, is really solid. However, Philly actually reads the play and just goes all in on the supports. So the Philly Fusion, they break one arm of the offense, or one arm of the recontest. They break off this left arm that was trying to go behind. And so, you know, Smurf did his part of the play. He's jumping to point, but he's not really going to get anything done here. With no supports, this fight's lost. Yeah, and he's just going to back out anyway. Try and save Choi. The really important thing here is that Choi lives. But I don't think Choi's going to live. Smurf's trying to get out here. This is a very important time to live, too. Because he's going to be able to give Violet Rally. But it doesn't matter that much. But, you know, whatever. Might as well live if you can live. But that was a really nice read from Fusion. That they saw that coming with the high ground flank from Shock. And they broke that arm of the offense. And Shock was going for a risky surround play. But if you don't take any risks there, you aren't going to win. You need to take some risks. And here comes a very explosive fight. 12 ults, boys. 12 ults. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I know for sure it's going to be crazy. So we're just going to go to 0.5 speed. Because you know for sure this fight's going to be popping. 12 ults? I don't know how this goes. It's all about the EMPs, actually, I think, in the 12 ult fight. Wait. Was that a one-man EMP? Did he see solo EMP? Choi? Is that what just happened? The hate for Choi is large. But Choi got his grab up. Alright. We need to watch this fight back. Because this fight's too crazy. It's going to go too fast. 12 ulti fight. The EMPs matter most, I would say. Because the EMP is the one thing that is going to like stop the enemy from getting their ult off. Generally speaking. Let's see what happens here. Choi is standing on the high ground. Almost like baiting a dive here. Oh my god, this is so big brain from Choi. Choi knows that when this jump comes in, it's interesting the EMP stuff moves when you move around the camera. But that's kind of interesting. Choi, he knows that he's going to get targeted heavily when the Winston jumps on him. Because the Winston jumping in is like the go signal for the rest of the team to follow. And so the EMP comes down too, but crucially, Choi, he gets his grab off and his self bubble, which is so critical. Because one thing, maybe an interaction people don't know about Zarya, is that if you self bubble when the EMP hits you, it takes the self bubble off, but it gives you 40 energy, and you don't actually lose your shield HP. You actually, if you're 400 HP, you'll stay 400 HP. Whereas if you get EMP'd without self bubble, you lose your shields like normal, like when Zen gets EMP'd, he has 50 HP. So because that Choi gets his grab and his self bubble off, even though he's EMP'd, this EMP ends up being really bad. I think the idea from Hisu here was to catch Choi off guard, but it basically just didn't work. So because Choi gets all his stuff off here, this fight starts really well for the Shock. Because Choi with the grab, even though he's bionated too, he gets to Violet on the rally and he's going to survive. And then, oh my god, look at the counter EMP from Striker. The 6-nan EMP. And what's Smurf doing now? Let's watch the fight from Smurf's POV. This fight's so crazy, it's just impossible to watch it from one POV. We need to just watch from a bunch of POVs. I don't think Smurf's going to have the most interesting fight here, is my guess. I think he's just going to jump the Ana, but I think Striker gets a 6-man EMP. Choi makes the God play with his bubble and survives. EMP onto Alarm, and Smurf just owns them in the back line. Wow, what an incredible fight from the Shock there. I mean, that was Choi kind of like clutching with not getting his grab and his self bubble off, so he survives. Like if he didn't make both of those plays, he would be dead. The fight could very much have gone the other way. Like, yeah. So that was nasty from Choi. And the 6-man counter EMP from Striker, also nasty. Striker has slept, but they can't finish the kill. Protected by his allies. Now Smurf has Primal. It's still a major ultimate advantage for Philly, right? They only use EMP that last fight. So this is not the worst fight in the world. But I think Shock, they're still happy with winning that fight because they expended 3 ults, but they won the fight decisively here on Streets phase. And because the card is at this position, it will be possible for Shock to get a retake fight as long as they don't let the card move before this fight happens. I would imagine Smurf's going to Primal here. Because I think this is the fight where you want to just go for some risky plays and try and get kills. In this case, though, the bubble actually goes onto Rascal because they're blading. And the very defensive play from Striker. He's actually just protecting Rascal. He uses his bubble to try and save his ally Genji after Striker gets hacked. And then he goes in with the Primal to try and save Choi, who gets grabbed. This is actually a very defensive fight from Smurf. It kind of in contrast with what we've seen like the rest of the game. But part of the reason for that, I think, is because it's a because he's on defense, right? So he's not trying to force kills that would put his life at risk. He's trying to just get value out of his health bar, stay alive long into the fight so that he can be a continuous bubble target for Choi and combo with the rest of his team. Like, he's not the initiator really in these fights. He's trying to counter initiate, which I think is a huge difference in game style between how he was playing on attack, but it makes a ton of sense. Like, it is why you're playing to win here. Fusion are in a great spot now though, because this recontest looks impossible for Shock. I think they're going to go for it, but I would imagine Hisu's just going to EMP them here and they're all going to die. We'll see though. I like that Shock's retaking from high ground on this point. I think that is the way to retake here. Put your supports on high ground so it's hard to like bio-nade them, and it's a little bit more awkward to follow up an EMP. Oh, the boop from Funny Astro. Nice boop from Funny Astro. I actually think that's a big error from Hisu to drop EMP here. I think that's a huge mistake from Hisu. I think this is very bad. Let me go back and watch this. Why did he EMP us? They already capped, I'm pretty sure. He like decided he was going to EMP, but the actual big brain thing was Funny Astro booping Smurf meant that Smurf couldn't touch. So they actually won this fight for free and they didn't need to commit any ults. But they use EMP, which actually might be the beginning of the end here. And I say that because third point is generally extremely difficult to cap. Especially when the defenders have EMP. The Nana or the Blade does get off, but it doesn't get Nana. Why not? Let's go back. We need to rewatch this fight. I don't understand why that happened the way it did. I'll give it a little more. Alright. Watching in 0.5 is like the only way to watch dive, because this shit is like way too fast to explain. In like, I just can't speak fast enough to explain. Alright, for one, that was extremely nice from Ivy to dash up high enough that he doesn't get EMP'd. So he actually gets his blade off and he still has dash. That's pretty fucking sick from Ivy. Gotta give it to him. The EMP though, it still hits Fury and Funny Astro. Fury got his self bubble off. You can see because he still has his shield HP online and he has a little bit of energy to work with, which is big. But where'd Smurf go? Alright. Once again, guys. He's in the back line. He's trying to cut off. I think this is just an instant sleep from... He slept on Smurf. I think he got slept. No, he didn't get slept. Just trying to get hacked. The bubble. Look at this bubble. What a troll. Like, Alarm can't play the game now. Hisu can't play the game now. So this bubble, and he's not even trying to kill these players. The focus call from his team is probably to kill the Brig because she's been EMP'd, which makes sense, right? The Zarya's EMP'd, Brig's EMP'd. Who is the kill target? It's Brig. Because Zarya can't ally bubble your Brig. And so the bubble from Smurf, the bubble is to block the Ana heals to the Brig, and Smurf's focus with his attacking damage is going to be on the Brig as well. So the focus call here is definitely Brig and Zarya because they're EMP'd. He's going to change focus to Zarya. Look at this. Oh, I love this. I love this. I love this little moment. I love that little moment there. This is such a big deal, guys. It's such a big deal. Like, if I were playing Winston here, guys, I'm a Pepega. I would just hold W on Fury. That would be how I would play this. Like, realistically, I would just hold W and try and kill Fury. But Smurf is smarter than me. And because he's smarter than me, what does he do? He realizes the Zarya is going to run and get this Mega, and that nothing he does is going to stop that. Which actually is real, and I wouldn't have known that in the moment because I'm a noob. And then he turns and he still goes back to body blocking Twilight and trying to block, or not, sorry, body blocking Alarm, try to prevent Alarm from getting value. He almost jumped out there. He almost jumped out there, but he realized he got the Nano just in time. He would have jumped out, obviously, if he didn't get Nano, just because he was going to die. But he gets the Nano, so he just jumps in, and oh my god, see you later, Alarm. He's even going to die through the Nano, which is great focus from the rest of the team. But he did his job. He got the kill on Alarm. And Fury is being chased down in the high ground by the Rally, which is another huge kill. So despite this fight sort of looking good for Philly on the surface, they've lost their most important heroes, right? Losing Zarya is by far your biggest damage contributor. And losing Ana, by far your biggest healing contributor. And your burst heal, and like your nade, your playmaker, like... These are the two most important kills you could get. And trading Winston Ana for those kills is a great trade. Because Choi is still alive. And he's also going to come out on the high ground and shit. So, fight is going great. Especially because spawn advantage is for the SF Shock. Violet is just going to full retreat. Trying to stay alive here. But Smurf's back now. Alright. Smurf's back, and he's just going to go in YOLO. A slight mistake to hit the tree there. Choi is getting suppressed, but you can't really suppress Choi. He's just holding W. He's like, nice bubble, bro. I'm just fucking jumping in on you. So now the teams have regrouped. And who's winning, guys? Who's winning? It's the Shock. And why are they winning? Because he's over here. So, yeah. This fight's really bad for Philly now. Because Fury's not even in the fight. And when he gets back to the fight, he's going to be no energy and stuff. This is like a really bad primal from Sato. Like, this is like the worst case primal. When you have to primal to jump in, to survive and then jump in, that's like that's generally not a good sign. When you have to press primal to survive and then you jump in, generally you want to jump in, get behind, drop bubble, zone the Ana, zap until you're low HP, then you primal, and then you have a max duration primal, max resources count. So, yeah, I think that's a bad problem. It was a nice jump from Smurf as well. He like jumps straight up, and the point of that jump is so that he can't get like booped in by Sato. He's just like is gonna escape the primal. That's all he needs to do here. Sato even gets hacked, but yeah, that primal from Sato is pretty sad. I mean, I think he was gonna die, so he maybe just went for the commitment primal. But yeah, it's not good at all. He just doesn't get anything out of primal, and now we're in a situation where you just don't have the ultimates to win this for Philly Fusion. You just don't have the ultimates, right? Like, primal, I mean, maybe you could, like, sleep the primal, but I just feel like Choi's grab is going to get a kill here, at least one kill, and then they're going to lose, because, again, spawn advantage on defense. I like, though, that Smurf, he's not initiating, he's counter-initiating. Like, because it's on defense, right, and his team has spawn advantage, Sato has to make this play and go super aggro with the Nano, and it's good from Sato, too. He's doing the same thing we talked about, where he's splitting off the back line. Although I think Violet and Twilight do a great job of fighting this off to this position because, for one, Twilight can still sneak some heals through on this LOS. And for another, the Brig is taking the real pressure and Ana can just heal Brig. So Sato is only getting one target cleave with Nano. He's not actually hitting multiple people. Like normally you would hit Brig and Ana, ideally. But in this case, he can't. So Smurf's going to counter-initiate. Grab from Choi is going to come in. Bubble lands on the Ana in the grab. Nade from Alarm, but it's just not enough, you know. Smurf gets hacked. He's going to have to run here because he gets hacked. One thing that he does that's nice, little detail on Winston, is that when he's in danger of dying, like for instance when he's hacked and the Sombra's shooting him, he always turns his back. Instead of holding S while looking at the target and like shooting him and exposing your face, your head hitbox, he turns his back so you can't shoot his head, and also holds W, which actually is slightly faster than backing up. Like pressing S is like you move slower than if you hold W on every hero. So both of those things are going to enable him to escape better, like escape more with more certainty. He's like less likely to die because he does those things. And he's just spy checking here, trying to find Hisu. I like this little play he does because I think this is a common place for Sombra to try and come through. Would be this flank. He's just gonna zap. He thought it was the same speed. Well, the more you know. W faster than S. It's not much. It's very small, but on tank it matters a lot. I'm pretty certain. I'm pretty certain it's faster to W. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I feel like it is. I'm pretty sure it's not the same speed. I think it's extremely small. It's not the same, yeah. It's really, really small difference. Like, it's not noticeable unless you actually do some like aggressive measurement. Yeah, backwards is 90%, forwards is 10. Yeah, 10%, you won't notice that unless you do like actual tests or whatever. 5 meters per second versus 5.5. Yeah, super important. Super important. You can back away from Ryan, but it's because Ryan is like hitting you, so you can like surf his stuff. So like if you want to jump away from Ryan, you can like jump while holding S and you'll be like bounced away by his hammer. But so for Winston, it's not, yeah, you want to hold W if you're really in trouble. Genji and Tracer are quicker. Yeah, but they're just default quicker. Like they're always moving quicker. And I think it's true for Genji and Tracer where even though their base movement speed is higher, it's faster to hold W than S. This is interesting from Smurf. I think he's going to run away when he sees this. Yeah, he's going to bubble and get out of here. Oh, what a sleep from Alarm. This is not ideal for Smurf. This is like emergency mode, but Alarm just hit a really good sleep here. But they're just going to YOLO commit with an EMP. I like that. Like, this is what makes Shock a top team, in my opinion. That this setup did not go the way they wanted. Like, let's go back and just watch the fight in here. This setup for sure did not go the way they wanted. Like, Smurf, for sure, he wanted to get out of here. Once the team pushed towards him like this, he wants to get out of here. Before it a little bit. Okay, so this is really heads up from Alarm to be leading the team here because Alarm's the first one in. If it was anybody else besides Alarm, Smurf would escape. But Alarm playing really well here. He's the first one down the stairs. And because of that, he's already inside the bubble when Smurf drops bubble, so he's able to hit the sleep here. It's actually such a massive play from Alarm. But this is not what Shock envisioned, right? Like, Shock, like, look at the team. I mean, the team's not here. The team, I think they assumed that Philly would come out the top, like here as a normal push, or maybe down here as a normal push. But they didn't expect this for certain, right? And Smurf, you can see the way he's looking, he wanted to get out of here. However, once this goes wrong and he is slept and he is going to take a ton of damage, even if he jumped out here, he would probably need to primal. Especially because Twilight's over here on Ana, so he can't heal him. So instead of going with the game plan that actually got interrupted because Philly made a smart heads up play, the game plan changes. So Smurf just says, all right, fuck it. Let's go. You know, and Striker's close enough. Let's just full send in here with a primal. And it's not the game plan. Certainly they didn't expect to be fighting in here like this. And Smurf even gets grabbed. But this is hilarious. He's actually grabbed on the Mega. Wait, this is too funny. He's grabbed on the Mega and he eats it twice. With the Sombra hack. That's actually too funny. I think that's why he lives too. Because he only has 400 health here. So he eats the Mega twice because he's grabbed on it. That's super funny. And the EMP gets the Mega hack. And then they're just going ultra YOLO in here. It's a nice counter EMP though from Fusion. Like, Fusion is winning this fight. Or they should be. Oh, but they're not winning it anymore. That was a miss nano? Or they nanoed Smurf. Okay, I thought it was nano from Alarm. So, actually, never mind. I assume that was a nano blade. I misunderstood what happened there. Yeah, Fusion got screwed this fight. Because it's just a regular Genji versus a non-nano blade. And Alarm also died in the chaos. Rascal, that's a huge pick from Rascal to find that one. I love this from Smurf too. Look how good his focus is on this Genji. Like, he instantly found this Genji because the Genji was out alone here on the side. Instantly zapped him, and finishes it off with the help of Violet. Even though they're EMP'd, they still have Rally on. And then with Nano coming in onto Smurf, he's going to kill them all here. Nice jump, perfect jump. So he lands on Funny Astro. Yeah. That was a huge fight. That was an absolutely huge fight. That was pretty hilarious that he got grabbed on the Mega, the hacked Mega that kept him alive. It's like sort of a ridiculous circumstance. But that's Striker EMP was big, dude. He got the first EMP off. He hacked the Mega there. Like Hisu didn't get any off EMP off until later, so the Mega was still Striker's, right? You couldn't steal it back. What's up, on son? How's it going, man? I'm just watching Smurf Winston POV review. Ons, I wanted to review your Widow, but Widow not good this meta. Sad. So when you play Widow next, I'll review. Ons Havana? Oh, okay. Did he play Widow? Wait, he played Widow on Havana? Oh shit, maybe I do that one next. I'm down. I wanted to do On's Widow though. That's the game. Okay, we gotta do that next then. We gotta just do a twofer. The double feature. Alright, well, after we finish this review though. Let's see what, like, this game is honestly all but over now. Because the Fusion, they lost their snowball. And capping third on this map is like, it's incredibly hard to do if you don't snowball. And King's Row? Okay, let's go. I want to do the pure Widow POV. Alright, we'll do Havana next, man. But after this review, we got to finish the Smurf review. I feel like I have to watch it in 0.25, but I'm just going to watch it 1x now because I think these fights are a lot more straightforward now. Because Fusion lost their snowball, and you really need a snowball to win this map. Like, defense has such a big advantage positionally. Like, if Fusion ever go in and they jump Sato in, then Smurf is just going to counterplay that. Like, here's the thing to also look at, like, to think about why Smurf's not going in here, right? If there was some fat ult combo for Shock, like an EMP or a Nano Blade or something, then they might go in. But there's no fat combo, and if he jumps in here, he won't isolate anybody. Like, even if he lands on this Winston or whatever, A, the Winston is like the tankiest hero on the team, so he's really hard to kill. So even isolating with Bubble probably not going to work. And B, with Alarm back here, like, you can't just jump into the middle of the team and survive, you know? Like, you need to isolate a target without exposing your life to grave risk. So in this case, he's just checking on it. He's going to, like, check on it. Like, oh, is anyone there to isolate? No? Okay. But when the enemy Winston goes in, now there is somebody to isolate, right? So by jumping in, he's going to isolate, you know, the enemy Winston. And it's only because Sato goes in that there is a viable target to isolate. In this case, though, it's mostly just Grav Blade that do the work here. And he's just going to add some more damage to the Grav Blade. And they use Nano on a Fury trying to win it, but he's bio-nated, so yeah. This fight's just unwinnable for Fusion. This is pretty bad, though. I think that Nano was not good from Alarm. I don't think there's any chance of Fusion winning this fight. Oh, Havana versus Mayhem. Oh, okay, okay, that's why. I didn't watch that match, so that's perfect. I'll review that. I'll do On's Widow next. This is Pog. We get 2 reviews in the same day. Rare double feature. I mean, they seem boomed. I guess. I think they're just desperate. They're for sure. The pressure is for sure being felt now. And now Shock's going to go for this crazy aggro play. And he finds the isolated Brig as well. And Funny Astro goes back to spawn. Still, it's good value from Smurf. And he just barely gets this primal time. And this is just one of those... Oh, God. I saw this. I saw this. Go juggle. Boom, 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 boom. All right. We're going to review that little juggle. That's nasty. That's not right. That's not right what this man did. It's not right.
This will protect us.
He gets his jump off too. So he still has primal jump. And then look at this. He's jumping out. And then look at this. Look at this. Fury comes forward. Hello, Mr. Fury. Boom. All right. Jumps in. This is the setup jump. This is the setup jump. We're going to 0.25. That was the setup bounce. Look at this. Look at the situation here. This is the ideal situation for the juggle to begin. All right. Zarya at like, this is like an easy jump range. If you're like point blank, it's actually quite hard to start the juggle because when you're point blank, you can't like jump in. You need to use your leap to make this work because what he's going to do here is a technique called like, it's like double hitting or triple hitting with Winston. And what it means is that as you're like swinging your fists in primal, right? It's not actually a constant rate. And the hitbox from each melee swing it lasts a long time. So the way the juggle works is you hit them 2 times. Like normally when you hit an enemy 1 time, they get knocked away too far for you to hit them again. But the way that you avoid that is you jump in. I wish I could go like 0.1 speed here. Look, jump in. The first swing, like it's like the end of the first swing. I mean, we got to watch this again. All right, we're gonna review the juggle because this is the first time I saw him do this in this game. It's not something you do all the time on Winston, so it's just a super high level tech. Look, jump in. He's swinging like he already did his first swing on Smurf. His first swing is like it's gonna hit Fury with the very end of the first swing because he pressed mouse 1 like to hit, and then he pressed shift to jump, so that the first swing just barely connects, and then the second swing still connects because Fury hasn't been knocked far enough yet. Like he's been knocked, but he hasn't been knocked out of range because he's not only using the booster pack, but he's clicked early. Like he did like click, press booster pack, then the first punch hits, then the second punch hits, and the Winston and the landing from the jump pack hits. All 3 of those things hit, and that is what sends Fury flying to the back of the spawn. I mean, that is savage. All right. And then this is just boom, like he does it again. Boom. You see that? It's like the end of the first hit. It's like the first hit is like the hitbox is almost gone now. And this is a perfect one. Like the first one was a little bit not perfect. This one is perfect. The very last second of the initial swing hits Fury. Landing pack hits, and that actually just kills him. But he would have taken the next hit as well from Winston. This is a tech that like I think this is like you will never see this outside GM unless people do it on accident. Like this is not a normal technique because it's A, incredibly hard to do, and B, like it's something that it's like why Primal is so advanced. It's something people discovered about Primal is like the stack hitting by using the jump. So yeah, this is disgusting. And then, I mean, it's over, right? Like, it's just over. He's just going to go back in with the rest of the nano. And this is a classic. This is great to do on Primal, where you use the... Like, not only does the jump pack cooldown reset when Primal starts, but also when it finishes. So, he jumps, and then he jumps again. And alarm's done. Bubbled as well. In case... He doesn't necessarily know when he does this that alarm is going to be 1 HP. Maybe he did from the call, but he's going to bubble him anyway to just, just in case Alarm wanted to sleep him or something, he's going to put the bubble on him. And then this is just, it's clean up here, baby. Yeah, and that's the game. Dude, I'm so glad we got that God mode Primal juggle to finish this review off. That was a beautiful end. SF Shock wins. Wow. So inspirational. And let's think about the key points we noticed in this review. Like, what made Smurf good? Like, obviously, he did some cool plays, but, like, what can you take home into your Overwatch games? What can you get good at? I would say the first thing to look at is on offense. When he's starting fights in this mirror comp, he's going to always look to put his Winston bubble in such a way that the Ana cannot heal the person she wants to heal. And that person who she wants to heal is the focus target for the Shock, right? Like, you can't heal this guy. I'm going to bubble him off. I'm going to zap him too. But mostly, the biggest thing to do is to bubble him off. So, like, he's constantly doing it to Fury, where Fury can't get healed by the enemy Ana. And that means Fury dies because he can't get the heals he needs. And because that on the attack, that's what Smurf's doing constantly. Isolating a target, gets the focus from his teammates. No Ana heals can come through because the target's isolated. They win the fight with a +1 advantage. So that's basically the way attack went all the way through. They snowballed with basically doing that over and over and over again. It's not so straightforward to do that, but he just does it perfectly. And the key thing is that he doesn't die doing it. Like, a lot of people, I think, would jump in and they just jump on the Ana and start zapping the Ana. But that's not a kill you're ever going to get because the Brig is going to be with her. So what makes this different is that you're not trying to kill the Ana. You're just trying to make her irrelevant by blocking her heals and blocking anything she wants to do. Sleeps, nades. It's all blocked by the Winston bubble. And then we flipped the script on defense, where instead of going for those isolation plays on defense, he's playing a very defensive style where instead of leaping in, he's walking in or jumping in without, not like literally just pressing spacebar off the high, like just walking in. He's holding W to initiate the fight with his Tesla cannon, and then he's saving his jump pack to escape when he gets low or when he takes a ton of damage. And he's also trying to layer the bubble. So he's going to get the Zarya bubble from Zarya. And then he's going to use his Winston bubble after the Zarya bubble decays. So what that's going to mean is he has the longest time possible staying in the fight. And it's also going to mean that he doesn't have to use his jump pack, so that if he does get focused, he can jump out and survive. And that playstyle is not going to like make the big flashy plays on defense where he's getting the kills in the back line. But what it is going to do is going to give him a lot of primal rage charge, and it's going to just slow the enemy team down, defend his allies, let the allies do the work, and just focus on staying alive, getting maximum value. So that key shift in his style on offense and defense, I think, is very educational for a lot of people to watch and understand Winston and dive comp. And then, of course, the primal juggle, the beautiful primal juggle. That was pretty disgusting, too, at the end. So, yeah, overall, just great plays from Smurf. God tier Winston. He's owning. Nice job, Smurf. Nice job. Smurf Winston OP.